Hello, I'm with the Federation for Children with Special Needs, and today we're talking about SEPAC Summer School again and bringing you session 9. My name is Leslie, and I've been leading the SEPAC Summer School this summer, and we're using the family engagement frameworks to assess how we're doing and what SEPAC should be focusing on when they're starting to work with families in their community. And one of the old and new tools is the fundamentals. So today's session is using the fundamentals as an assessment tool. Our learning objectives today is that you'll be able to know what this tool is. It's a revised version, it's version 2.0, and it's really has a two-pronged focus that SEPACs can use. You can not only assess what you're doing as a SEPAC and how it's working in terms of engaging families for your community, but you can work with your school district and use the fundamentals to enhance family engagement across the board. So let's learn about the fundamentals. So it's one of my favorite tools. It's really a companion to our statewide family engagement frameworks. And so what they have done is taken the old tool and used the research base behind it and aligned it now with the strengthening partnerships statewide family engagement frameworks. So it's really supporting high expectations for students, making sure that there's a coordinated, comprehensive, systemic system of supports. And it's really creating opportunities for all students to have better outcomes, achieve that academic proficiency. And so the link to the fundamentals is on the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education's website. That's the web page that it's on, and you can download it as a Word document and use it. So the indicators in the fundamentals have been realigned to go along with those 4 core foundational elements in the family engagement framework. And this summer, our SEPAC Summer School has been focused on that first core element, which is building positive relationships. So all of the indicators that kind of support that element are now in this fundamentals assessment tool. And it's really to use actively. It's a measuring tool, it's a self-assessment tool, but it's also helps you kind of say, what does this really look like in our school system? And what are the elements that, the practical elements that we can do to make sure that we're meeting these objectives and these elements? So it's not only self-reflection, but it's action planning. And I think that's what's so exciting about the fundamentals tool. So they talk about stakeholders, and it's really like, well, who are the stakeholders? And when we did this session and started talking about, who are the stakeholders in a school system, we got everyone. And so it's not only the families and the students, but it's the educators, the administrators, the community partners. It's everyone who's involved in helping students grow and prosper. So when you're starting to talk about who are the stakeholders, you want to have that very broad audience. And we've been talking all summer about how do we expand to invite people to partner with SEPACs, to build the capacity of SEPACs, to make all of those connections with different communities. So stakeholders, really anybody with an interest or concern in something, and hopefully we can bring all those people who are concerned about students together and working together in a common plan. The indicator language that you'll see on the fundamentals is really tracking the statewide core family engagement elements. And so you'll see some of these indicators for the positive relationship element on talking about the things that we have been learning about this summer, and creating those welcoming, inclusive environments for stakeholders, building the trusting relationships, that reciprocal communication, and why that's so important about building trust. The importance of having needs assessments and surveying families to respond to what they need and what their thoughts and concerns are. And then that you're bringing in others that might serve as cultural brokers to reach out to all the different families. So that language you're now going to see in this assessment tool, and makes that wonderful connection between the new family engagement frameworks and the activities that you might be doing in your SEPAC and in your school. So the interesting thing about these fundamentals is it's a dynamic planning tool, and it allows you, it's almost like a UDL. We're going to meet you where you're at and bring you forward. And so they've added a new level, which is not here yet, which I think is great. It's like, no, we haven't even started this. That's okay. Check that box. And now you'll see where you have to go. It also kind of allows you to see where you're at in terms of levels of progress. So are you just starting something? Is it an initial activity? Is it the basic level? That's okay. Are you now kind of functioning a little bit better, and you're progressing and you're getting this, and you've got a good groundswell going within your system? And so that's the progressing level. And then even speaks to mastery. When do you have this embedded systemically in your system so that you don't even have to think about it anymore? You've set that all in place, and you might have to revisit and revise and renew, but it's really there. So it allows you to measure where you're at, and it's okay to be not there yet. This is what the tool looks like, and you'll see that it has those 3 levels of progress across the top, so that we know level 1 is initiating. This is where we're just beginning. This is what level 2 looks like, we're progressing, and level 3 is mastering. This is across the top. On the new tool, you'll see the old fundamental language indicator and the new one, so you can make that comparison. So they went from having a respectful atmosphere to intentionally creating not only a respectful atmosphere, but one that was welcoming, inclusive, and safe. And so I think they've expanded that definition. So that's why I love the mixing of the family engagement language in this tool, and it just sets us for expectations of what would be that. And so then they talk about it, and it goes all the way through the tools. And we're going to look at 2 different examples so that you can kind of get a sense of how you would use this and how to even read this document. So the first example, where we're intentionally creating those welcoming environments, on level 1, it might be that the schools have clear and welcoming signage, and that maybe families are greeted in the language that they speak, their home language. So that would be an initial way for you to create a welcoming environment. And it's probably not that much of a heavy lift to get that in place, so that when anyone walks into a school, they feel welcome. They know where the main office is, and they won't feel lost. Level 2 are really more strategies that the school's adopting to engage families, to meet their needs, so that when they plan activities or plan events, that they are meeting the family's needs. And so it's at the correct time and in the correct place within the school, so that it meets families' needs. They don't have to go looking for it. It's a conference room that's right off the main hallway or so. Any type of communication that they're doing, it's meeting the family's needs, so they're meeting their preferred way of contact. And so the school might have to not only create a flyer, but have a message that goes out through their information system. If they have a phone system, they might text families, they might send emails. There's multiple means of communication, so you're meeting all of the needs of the families. And that's creating that welcoming environment, so that the information is easy for those families to get. So that's a little bit higher level of that welcoming environment. And then at the 3rd level, it's, here's an example where the school has said, to really create a welcoming, inclusive environment, we need to have more bilingual staff. So we're going to make that a purpose. That's one of our goals, is to make sure that we have staff on hand to meet the language needs of our families, so that they can feel comfortable and have people to talk to within our school environment. And they're embracing diversity. And so they're making these inclusive connections even with families, so that they're really saying, this is part of our system. We want to make sure this happens. This is a priority for for us. So they're taking that first indicator of what it is to be an inclusive, welcoming, safe environment for everyone in the school. And here's 3 levels of how you can initiate that. And your school might already have great signage so that you can move on and attack and move, what are some other challenges? So this is a way not only to self-assess a school, but you can do that within the SEPAC. What does your messaging say? What does your website say? What does your Facebook say? Does it have that welcoming language? Is it reaching out to welcome people? And then what are you going to do next? So it's just, that's why I really think the levels are very practical for the way we operate in some of our systems and some of our organizations, so that we're always assessing where are we now and where can we go? What's the next level? And it might take you a little longer to get to the higher levels of mastery. Here's another example of using reciprocal communication, which was one of our workshops this summer. So we wanted to make sure that needs assessments were conducted, so that not only did we learn what families' concerns are, but how they wanted to be communicated with. What's working for families, and you don't know until you ask them. So not only the school, but the SEPAC should be doing that, is some type of direct survey or assessment to families to determine what's the preferred means of communication, so that that right up front. So the second level of where you'd want to grow on that and progressing level is that you're starting to collaborate with all of the groups within the school system and staff to develop not only these two-way communication systems, but you're doing in multiple languages. So you're meeting people where they're at and meeting their needs. So that's a higher level of commitment, because you may have to have information translated or interpreters available to make sure that communication happens. And then on that mastery level is that, the systems are using formal and informal interactive communication all across the board, multiple strategies, technology, media. They've really embedded it into their systems. They might even be using cultural brokers, so that they're making sure that they're hearing and making their messaging work for different groups of families. So that's at a higher level, and that takes more resources. And it's just where your school is at, where your SEPAC is at, the amount of resources that you have, and based on the needs and your community. So that's using this assessment tool to figure out how you're doing and what you maybe need to do in the future. And I think that's always good to plan forward, plan ahead, and not stay stable, not rest on your laurels, oh, we got this accomplished. Yes, that's great, but what are you going to do next? So here's actually a direct link to those fundamentals. And if anybody needs that, just email me and I can send you this direct link so you can access it and you have the Word document. There's another self-assessment that I think is really practical and really directed specifically for SEPACs, and that's in that National SEPAC Guide. It's on pages 66 and 67. And if you go to the website, you'll be able to download that as a Word document and then customize it for your SEPAC. But it's, I think, good to self-assess, if not every year, at least every other year. Are you on track? Are you meeting the needs of your families? And what are you doing well? And what are you not doing well? It's just an analysis, and it sets you on a road to improvement, which I think is all good. And that for those who don't know, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education is putting together a new family portal, a new page on their website, which is much easier for families to access and has a lot of information that they would need and be able to support their students. So that is something I just wanted to promote. It's a new family website as part of DESE. And so please share that with your families so that they can get access to family-friendly information from the department. So thanks very much for listening to this short session, session 9, on the fundamentals, and make sure you download the tool, start to read it, and maybe pick 1 or 2 sections that your SEPAC might focus on this year as a growth area, an area you want to be challenged on, you want to explore a little bit more, and maybe work with your school district to bring your activities and your messaging really have that family engagement lens on it so that it's working for families. So thank you, and I hope that you'll revisit the YouTube channel here at the Federation and access all of the SEPAC summer school sessions so that you can continue to learn on your own. Thanks very much.